Hello, this is Paul Boberkins, and welcome back to How to Play Dwarf Fortress. This is part 18. First, a little housekeeping. We ran the video for a little bit. Actually, it's still running. And they made our ashery, so our ashery's finished. I can show you this workshop. There's three things you can make in here, and they all require ash at some point, which we don't have any ash, but you can make lye. If you say, okay, I'm gonna make lye, it will pop up with a message. Eventually, if somebody tries to make it, it'll pop up with a message saying you don't have any ash to make lye out of. You can also make, I'll go ahead and cancel it. I'll just take my word for it. It'll cancel the action because you don't have any ash. You can also make potash, which you can make that from ash or lye, which I believe is a type of fertilizer you can use to increase your farm yield. So I don't really use it that often unless I'm really short on dirt. But I have a whole layer of dirt up there that I can make new farms in if I need to. So, but in order to get ash, you need to go into a completely different menu. It's not the workshop menu, but if you go into the building menu by hitting B, it's S. No, it's not. It's E for smelt. It's the different type of furnaces. The E menu and the building menu. What we're going to want is a wood furnace. Basically, it'll turn wood into either ash or charcoal. We can use charcoal as a fuel for our smelting purposes and whatnot, and our metal crafting if we want to. There's also a couple other sources of fuel. You can use magma. If you can put your workshops directly over a square of magma, then they can use that as a fuel forever. So that's going to be something you're going to want to do if you can. You can also find different types of coal in the ground as like a vein, like in real life. You can find lignite or bituminous coal, and use smelters to turn those into actual usable charcoal or coke, as it is, which those two things do the exact same thing. But for now, the only fuel source that we have are trees that we can burn and turn into charcoal. Our wood furnace is our first step for now in creating not only lye for soap making, but also any type of metalwork. I also wanted to show you, and also completed all these other workshops, fill out this room here. Also wanted to show you one of the major things that you might want to do when you first start out is use one of your craft dwarf workshops to create rock. Go into the rock menu and create rock pots forever. They do the same thing as a barrel. You can store food and liquor in them, and you don't have to use your precious wood. If you have a lot of wood, even if you do have a lot of wood, stone is better to use because there's so much of it. Wood, you have a lot of uses where you can only use wood, such as burning the wood for charcoal, like I just mentioned, making beds, making buckets, making all those things that I mentioned in earlier videos. So this is something that is not really obvious until you played the game for a while. So go ahead and make rock pots. It's really useful. And usually the other one I make bone crafts, or bone bolts actually, just so that they have some ammunition for the hunters can have some ammunition that so we don't have to run out of ammunition. They're not very effective in terms of types of bolts, but We can make bone crafts later on when we have more effective ammunition that's made out of metal, probably. So we'll go ahead and leave our craft dwarfs with that. Check out. Go ahead and check out our last workshop that we haven't looked at, the soap makers. There's two options: make soap from tallow and make soap from oil. Oil you can get extracted out of certain plants that you can harvest off of the ground, but almost all the time killing animals is going to be the easier solution, rendering their fat into tallow and making it using tallow and lye. You also need a barrel with only lye in it in order to make soap, in addition to the tallow. So you're going to need some extra barrels for that operation. So make sure you have some extra barrels laying around if you want to make soap. Soap is, I think I've mentioned it before, but it's really important in the healthcare industry in Dwarf Fortress because you're going to want to clean the wounds so they don't become infected and kill your dwarfs. So that's one problem after battles, is if you don't clean their wounds, they fester and they will die in the hospital, even though it's not really that big of a wound that would normally kill them. So it looks like our guys made some mechanisms. That's good. We'll go up to our farming level and we'll go over these different farming workshops now. Like I said, butchery and tanning and the fishery, they're all auto. All you need is the workshop. They'll automatically come do it at the workshop if you have it set to automatically happen in the orders menu that I showed you in the last video. But I showed you the still once, and I showed you the kitchen when we first started out because those are so important. And they're still brewing drinks and making meals. We ran out of barrels at one point and they stopped brewing drinks, but I went ahead and started it again after we got some other things done. The farmer's workshop, I want to show you this. This is kind of a multi-purpose workshop where there's lots that you can do. You might notice in Dwarf Therapist here that there's a whole bunch of random things in this farming area that we haven't gone over yet, and a lot of that is done in the farmer's workshop. If you add a new task, you can process plants. These are kind of vague instructions. Process plants is the one that you'll probably want to use. Pay attention to if you're going to have a cloth industry, because process plants is process plants that pigtails specifically, or other types of plants that can produce fiber. Process plants to bag, to barrel, and vial are other types of plants that you can produce oil. I can't remember exactly what these are, but they turn into other things that you can use for different situations. You can also milk any animal that has nipples. No, you can milk an animal that you have using the milk in this farmer's workshop. You can shear them if you have shearable animals. You can spin thread. That's related. That's where you turn wool into thread. That's actually something that you don't do in the loom, but you do in this menu if you get it directly from shearing. So and you can make cheese in here. So those are the processes that you can do in the farmer's workshop. And now I'll go ahead and go quickly to the the status menu, and I'll show you a couple things here. There's a couple of different categories you can go through to. First of all, we have this screen that shows you your general information, shows you your wealth, and it has question marks here, and it has just a rounded off number because we don't have a record keeper right now. So if we had a record keeper and we had their settings a bookkeeper. If we had their settings set to know what our value is more specifically, then these would be exact numbers. And same thing here. We'll probably get one pretty soon because I don't like knowing that we have question mark number of drinks. It's kind of scary. So this is how you keep track of your dwarves and all their possessions and all that good stuff. If you go up to the top and you go into the animals menu and hit enter, it'll show you all the animals you have, and you can go up and down, and you can set them to be trained for war. You can have them set to be trained for hunting, or you can slaughter them. This is where you set your butchery. So if I wanted to turn these yak bulls into food, which I'm going to go ahead and do now, you hit B and B, and since they can't reproduce, I'll go ahead and slaughter them while we can, and it will turn them into meat, into fat to turn into tallow, into hides that can be turned into leather, and that's really useful. And you can also set these to be trained and or turned into a pet. It says unavailable for these two. That means that they can't be turned into pets at this moment. We're eventually going to have them breed and turn into war animals or hunting animals. It's good to have a lot of dogs around to help with the battles, and the cats are uninterested in the whole pet situation, and they actually adopt the humans without any input by us, the player. So you can't control if they decide to adopt a human, which is actually, I guess they made that because that's how cats act in real life. In the kitchen, you can set things to be, this is back in this screen, if you go over and hit enter on kitchen, you can set things to be cooked. All of the seeds are automatically turned off. You can't cook them. And you can turn, let's say you only want to brew plump helmets, we'll turn that off. Or you don't want to cook any of the wine, we'll turn that off, and it'll make sure that we have food and booze. We don't want to cook all our wine. We want them to be able to be drank. You can also go into stone and set certain stones to be economic, which means you can't make normal crafts out of them. But we won't mess with that too much either here. You can look at the number of stocks you have, which is more specific if you have a bookkeeper, and you can look at the general health of all your dwarfs, although it's a little bit easier to go into the individual dwarfs menu and look at their health from that. But it looks like we're out of time for this video. In the next video we will probably get started on our fort's defenses and get a little bit more production, maybe set up a meeting hall and a couple of rooms for our nobles. But if you like this video, go ahead and like it. If you like what I'm doing, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. But in the meantime, I'm Paul Bo Brookins, and we'll see you next time.